Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning class. Today we will learn about our new topic, which is very interesting topic, but it is not very difficult but quite challenging, about data processing and basic data analysis. Alright, after you finish this chapter, you will learn how to prepare the data, editing, coding and data entry for statistical analysis, handle the missing data by using the appropriate method, detect outliers in data, make the right choice of data analysis with a given scale of measurement, analyze simple tabulation and cross-tabulation, learn basic statistics, analyze descriptive statistics, use different type of charts, present statistical data in visual form, learn step-by-step procedure to use SPSS for data processing, analyzing univariate and bivariate data. Frankly saying, for today's class, for 2 hours, it is not enough to cover all these objectives. So we need to have 3 consecutive weeks to cover for all those listed in the slide. Okay, introduction. Data analysis, important and exciting step in the research process, which you will reveal the truth. Okay, when you form your questions, then distribute the questions, then you get the feedback from respondents, and then it's time for you to analyze the data. Before you analyze the data, you need to understand what are the questions and what are the coding which is linked to the questions or the item questions. Example, I have mentioned to you before, coding. Example, yes would be number 1, 0 would be no. For the gender, male could be number 1, 2 could be female, or you could make it male could be number 2 or female could be number 1. For the level of income, you could level 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so that is what we call how you code, how you introduce the questions in the software. It's very important for you to understand the coding. Important issues to reconsider before analysis starts. First, objectives of research you try to accomplish through your survey. So basically, you need to have objective in your research. Probably you have only 1 or 2 or 3 objectives. So when you have already set the objective, then you distribute the questions and you get the data, and the data will reveal whether or not you have successfully meet the objective. Okay, the purpose of conducting research is to meet the objective. If you meet the objective, then would be good, fair enough. Okay, satisfied, no problem. But what happened if you didn't meet the objective? If you didn't meet the objective, what will happen? It means that your data is very weak. It means that your research finding is not solid. It means that you have failed to meet the objective. It means that your planning also failed. It means your planning weak. So that is why, class, in order for you to ensure that you will be meeting your objective, the setting or the initial setting of the particular objective should not become ambitious. It should be measurable, boleh diukur, and it is possible for you to meet it. Alright? So when you draw your objective, that particular objective is measurable within your capacity, within your skills, within your knowledge, within reach. Bukan unreachable, bukan yang ambitious. Sebab tu bila buat objektif, jangan buat objektif yang ambitious that you can't meet the objective. Kan? Macam tu. Kalau we are not in that particular situation, example macam ni, paling mudah ya, nak cari jodoh Nak cari jodoh orang Rusia. Tapi you are here in Malaysia. You are doing nothing to reach the objective of getting your jodoh from Russia. Duduk dekat kampung. Kampung pula dekat Melaka. Your circles Malay, not Chinese, not Indian. You don't have your Chinese or Indian friend. You only have your Malay friend. But cita-cita tinggi menggunung. Be ambitious nak kahwin dengan orang Rusia. Dia jadi macam mak jenin, angan-angan yang mana angan-angan mak jenin. Okay, dia macam tu, contoh dia macam tu. That's what they call the analogy, dia macam tu. So meeting objective for a research is compulsory, is mandatory. If you're failing to meet the objective, means that you're planning weak. Alright. Did survey instrument meet those objectives? Is the data you collected the right data? Have sufficient data to properly reach conclusion? Number 3 is very important. If you conduct a survey about youth ni golongan belia ataupun young adult, less than 30 years old. Okay, belia tu nama dia belia. Tapi majority of your circle, you distribute your questionnaire among your friends, undergraduate, yang umur 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And then what happens in the demographic profile? Level of education, degree. Income level, less than 1,000. Tengok. Tapi kajian tentang youth. Youth ni ada yang dah bekerja, ada yang dah berkeluarga. Youth golongan belia. Takrif golongan belia, you can refer to the Kementerian Belia Sukan. Less than 40. Or I can't remember. Or up to the maximum 35, something like that. I can't remember. You might want to check it. Okay, that's what they call definition of term about youth. Apa dia macam tu. Kalau buat apa ni, general opinion among Malaysians about Malaysian government practice to combat COVID-19. Tu namanya Malaysian perspective, maknanya the public overall, public daripada young adult, pada senior citizen, daripada golongan 18 tahun ke atas hingga ke golongan 60 tahun ke atas. Maknanya at all walks of life, at all age brackets. Tapi you distribute your questionnaire among your friends, among undergraduate friends. Nanti data tu dia jadi tidak sekata. Standard deviation is very low. Nanti you are not meeting the objective number 3. Is the data you collected the right data? Yang itulah. Maknanya dia nak the right data, dia kena have the right kind of respondent. The target respondent should be accurate. Yang tu kena ingat, ya, kena ingat betul-betul. There was a study done by your seniors. Tajuk dia tentang street seller. Street seller sepatutnya soalan dijawab oleh orang yang berniaga di jalanan, peniaga-peniaga kecil, peniaga-peniaga jalanan. Okey, yang tu. Tapi the weirdest part of the analysis was that respondent age bracket semuanya students. Tak tahu, nak tahu apa jadi pada data tu. Null and void, buat semula. Terduduk budak tu. This is very important in class. I'm reminding all of you, if you are distributing your questionnaire, distribute the questionnaire to all people, not for the sake of quickly getting the feedback by getting fast response from your friends. Memang salah. Out, buang. Gumpal, throw into the dustbin. Sebab you are not meeting your objective. Sebab itulah bila buat analisis, ramai yang dapat C. Okay, ramai yang dapat C, ramai yang kebanyakan reportnya gagal. And number 4, have sufficient data to properly reach a conclusion. Sufficient data is very important. Tadi penjaja kecil, tapi respon 50 orang. Penjaja kecil ada ribuan orang di seluruh Malaysia, tapi kenapa 50 orang? It is underrepresented. Kan, sample size very small. Jadi dia nampak macam data tu tak boleh pakai, memang tak boleh pakai, out. Alright, okay. If answers are no, too late to rewrite survey instrument. It's not too late. Too late ni maknanya kalau you are running out of time. Maknanya you are rushing towards the deadline but you can't comply. Itu maknanya too late. Kalau if answers are no, you are reaching the deadline. You are reaching the deadline. You can't finish it on time. It means you will fail your report. Report fail. Remember scope of project and stick to it. No reading between the lines, guesswork. Reading between the lines in data analysis maknanya data agak-agak. You can't assume. You can't assume. If you assume, people will know. Because I will know from the data whether the data is valid ataupun is a make-believe data. Macam tu. Alright. So you need to remember, you need to have a very truthful and honest data. Bukan data yang make-believe data ataupun data yang you created yourself. Because all professional researchers, they will easily know whether the data is authentic or not. Alright, now preparing the data for analysis. Okay, jangan cuba-cuba tipu data ya. Kalau you cuba-cuba tipu data, you are playing with the data because you are novice researcher, because you are beginners. First, you will have no credibility. If you are playing the data, you're faking the data, you will tolerate the credibility of the research. Once it is tolerated, then you are finished. Okay, related problems, omissions, ambiguity, inconsistencies, lack of cooperation, ineligible respondent. Omissions, failure to answer a single question, section of the question deliberately or inadvertently. Ni problem yang before you distribute questionnaire. That's why you need to really, if you are doing it face to face, it will be easy. But if you are doing it by distributing online, the first and foremost that you need to do is make some filter. Do your filter technique from question number 1 until the final question, until the end of the question, until the final questions. All of the questions are entertained and ticked. Kalau one of it atau two of it atau three of it, nanti itu nama dia omission, dia tak jawab. Bila tak jawab, you might want to put it aside first. Buat filter dulu. And yang tu namanya unusable data. And this unusable, how many of the unusable data ataupun how much of the unusable data you need to identify. It's very important. You need to jot it down because you need to report it. Ambiguity, ineligible and unreadable response or unclear which of the two boxes is checked in a multiple response system. Alright, so all those ambiguity, rasa sama-sama ke whatsoever, you need to put it aside. Inconsistency sama juga, put it aside. Lack of cooperation, mana kata ada banyak soalan tak jawab, you might want to put it aside, because if you're putting all these problems into your data, you are creating some mess. You are providing a headache to yourself. And ineligible respondent, maknanya respondent which is not part of your survey. Okay, respondent which is not part of your survey parameter, you might want to exclude them. Kalau by accident you include them, it means that you might want to remove them. Itu namanya filter. Buat filter. Mula-mula dulu kena buat filter. Alternative solutions, recontact respondent questions, very important. Okay, yeah, number 2, throw it out. This is the most common that all researchers do. Throw it out. Don't understand, not cooperate, throw it out. Code respondents don't know, no opinion, then you must throw it out. Okay, recontact respondent ni adalah if questions very important. If you know the respondent contact number, you can contact them, but basically the researchers don't have any variable time left, then they will just straight throw it out. Okay, ni just throw it out, tak ada masalah, buang je. Coding, coding ni dah yang penting ni. Okay, coding, because you have so many questions. Katakan ada 50 questions with 50 statements, and then for the 50 statement you have subdimension and you have the element. So ada 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 type of questions, and then that is why you might want to associate this number and link that number with the statement of the item question. Kalau section A, demographic profile, soalan nombor 1 ni adalah what is your gender. So dia punya coding would be A1. A1 tu kita dah tahu lah, gender lah. Sebab tu dekat questions tu, your questionnaire kena ada huruf dan nombor. When you do your label for the SPSS entry, you know A1 is gender. Gender male female. Tak ada 3 Dia mesti 2. Gender dalam dunia ni 2 je. Diperakui oleh scientific researchers, ada 2 sahaja gender dalam dunia. Tak ada transgender, tak ada apa-apa selain daripada male and female. Female number 1 ataupun male number 1, female number 2. You can change it. Alright. So if participant number 1 answer the questions, gender is male, so you will label in the SPSS A1. A1 is gender, and then the answer would be number 1. A1 1. Okay. For the participant number 2, female, A1 2. Okay, A1 is the section A, question number 1. Lepas tu dia jawab 1, 1 itu adalah lelaki. Kalau dia jawab 2, 2 itu adalah perempuan. Dia macam tu lah. Right, so I think you have learned this in your statistic class. Coding for close-ended questions, very easy. Okay, for the close-ended question, example, the demographic profile or the travel behavior characteristic profile. For all the Likert scale profile, so all the Likert scale questions, they are all known as the close-ended questions. But it's very tricky part for the open-ended questions. Basically, you leave this open-ended question at the end of the questionnaire. Example, please leave your opinion how to improve this site. So the visitors will leave their comments and feedback in that particular blank space. Dia akan jawab panjang in sentences. So it is very not, even though it is very difficult, but it's always not difficult, because you might want to combine all the feedback. Out of 180 respondents, 40 of them provide comment at that section. So you gather all the information or combine all the information, and then you might want to try to find some similarity in terms of, and you come out with theme similarity in terms of meaning. Kumpulkan, baca, faham pernyataan tersebut, dan keluarkan daripada pernyataan tersebut maksud yang ingin disampaikan. Maksud yang ingin disampaikan tu kan kita combine. Katakan ada 40 komen, bila dah combine all the maksud, kita cuma jumpa 3 saja main point yang penting. Sebab 40 of them 40 of them ni, opinions sometimes could be overlapping. Ni sebab tu kena combine. Bila ada idea baru keluar, so ada 3 idea baru in terms of their opinion to improve the site, ada 3 idea. So 3 ini adalah your summary or your finding for the open-ended questions. Alright, so macam mana nak tulis open-ended question? Basically, you just type it in the blank space in the SPSS. Just type it, okay? And then nak buat analysis macam mana, you need to write and you need to read all of statements, and then you come out with your theme or similarity in terms of meaning, data entry. So the most popular data entry software, the most popular data entry software is the SPSS. Okay, there are also other researchers utilize SAS and Statistica, but the most popular is SPSS because it is very user friendly and it able to handle large data set. Okay, and then SPSS is easily accessible, easily reachable. Even our university UiTM also have the access to SPSS. There are so many of these computer outlet out there, and they have the software to be sold to the researchers, to the academician and students as well. Have a format similar to spreadsheet or your Excel packages for data entry. The input follows a metric format, a variable appear in the column heading, data for one person case is entered in one row. Okay, yang tu lah benda yang biasa kan tengok. This is how SPSS looks like. So dia ada data view here, right? It's just similar to your Excel, and they have the variable view. Kan, ni namanya variable view. Ni variable view. Yang ni boleh kita tulis lah variable lah. Ni namanya variable. Ni variable. Okay, nama tadi tu variable. So I think you can read it by yourself. For all the entry kan ada this one. Okay, look here, missing column. For the missing part, okay. Sometimes want to signal to SPSS that data should be treated as missing, number 9 or 99, and 999, all to be treated by SPSS as missing. These values will be ignored. Missing means that blank space, the respondent didn't answer. So in order for you to analyze the data, you might want to clean up all the blank space. So all those blank space yang ada missing, you might need to treat it 999 or 99 or 9. Better buat 999, senang sebab sometimes you do have many choices in the questionnaire up until number 9. So if you put it as 9, then it's very problematic. Okay, nanti SPSS akan consider 9 tu is a missing data. Okay. Okay, columns, align, measure, ni tak ada masalah lah. Alright.
Google form sent to a certain number of students in 2018, we've got around 100 responses. And these responses are for different questions. For example, what is your ID number? What is your current degree level? This questionnaire was designed to evaluate the determinants of academic success. So we've asked around 20 questions about the degree level, about the age of the student, the gender, how many hours of sleep per day, and many other indicators or variables that could be used to understand what makes a student successful. The GPA level, which is our explained variable that will measure the performance. The first thing to do before going to SPSS, first column, we do not really need it, the date and time when the questionnaire was submitted. And the second thing is that instead of having the full question, we will transform it into a variable or a code. For example, here, instead of having what is your ID number, we can write ID number or ID simply. If you have two words, try to put an underscore on some statistical programs, eViews or SPSS, etc., may not accept two words as a variable. So we will be recoding the variables. You can see here we have done this word. This one now could be imported into SPSS. So we have here our SPSS. We have file here. We can find here open data. So we can import the data. My data are in the desktop at the desk, and here I can choose file type XLS in order to find my data here. So open. The next step is to choose the worksheet. I have two worksheets. I have to use this one. So okay. So get the data. Here I've got my data. I have my data here for all years, GPA, etc. I have everything. So what you can do now is to click Save As and save it as SAV, which is data. So you give it a name and you save it. Once saved, you can see also that you have two types of table. This table where we have the data and the variables here, and another table for the variables and the type of each variable. So if you click here on variable view, you will see ID, which is the first variable, is a numeric variable, etc. It is a scale, etc. It's nominal, etc. For example, gender here is nominal, M or F, male or female, etc. The next step is to start doing some analysis. First of all, you can do using here, for example, analyze, report, or sorry, the descriptive stat. Start by taking, for example, the GPA or will back grade, etc., attendance, whatever. And you can choose in options here, what do you want? You want the mean, you want the minimum, max, standard deviation, let's say, variance, range here, difference between minimum and max, etc. Let's click on OK. And you will see that now you have another window for SPSS where the results will be displayed. We have this first result, which is a descriptive statistics output, three variables selected. We have n, the number of observations. Minimum GPA is 1.5, maximum GPA is 4, and on average 3.03 was a standard deviation. And again, for the back level, minimum 10, maximum 18, and the average is 12.3, and that attendance is around 83% with a certain standard deviation. So if you click on copy and you go to Word, you can paste this graph and use it in your thesis. Or also, because you are maybe going to add other output here or other results, you can save the output by clicking on here, File, Save As, and you can see here it is an SPV file, which is an output file where you could find all your results. I will go back to the data here, and the second thing that you can do is the following. You can see, for example, using graphs, chart builder, here you have a window and you can drag or you choose what you want and you put it here. For example, what will be your graph type? Is it a bar? Is it a line? Is it a scatter dot, etc.? A histogram. Let's say we want a histogram, so we put here like this histogram. And in this histogram, for example, I want to see the gender, how many female and male here, okay, categories. And I will count, for example, according to back type, let's say. Okay, so if you click OK, we will get this graph for male, female, and the back type. I will show you another type of graph to find out the relationship between two different quantitative variables. In this case, I can use scatter dot. So I will select scatter dot, and here I will do the following. I want to see how the GPA is changing according to attendance. Now, when the attendance is changing here in the x-axis, how would the GPA change? GPA, where is the GPA? Here is the GPA. So GPA. And here we could get an interesting graph. For each level of attendance, we can see the GPA. It appears to be a bit increasing and upward sloping. We can here add a fit line. So if you double click on the graph, I will maximize it. Here you can see that you have a fit line, add a fit line. And you can choose, for example, a linear fit line. Okay, so we have a positive relationship here, as we can see, between attendance and GPA. When the attendance level increases, this GPA level is supposed to increase. What else we can do is the following. A very important part of the analysis using SPSS is to use tables here and to custom a table to make a cross tabulation or to link two different variables. For example, I would like to know how gender affects the GPA level. So I would like to have here the genders to category, and here I would like to have the GPA level in the rows. So I have here the GPA and the mean for each gender. I could choose here, if you click here, you can work on the categories. What I want is to choose my summary statistics. So I click on the quantitative variable here. I can add, for example, the maximum, the minimum, mean, max, let's say minimum, and the standard deviation, number, whatever. Plenty of variables. So let's take these two, for example, standard deviation, and just apply and click OK. Variables. We have the female and the male, and we have the average GPA for both is around 3, maximum 4. The minimum and the female 1.5 and the male 2.1. Standard deviation is a bit greater than the female. We can do this kind of cross between different questions. For example, let's take back degree back type, and I will only take the mean and apply. Great. The last part is called regression analysis. And here in this part, we will learn how to do a regression analysis using SPSS. We go to analyze, to regression, linear regression. You have to choose your dependent variable, which is the GPA. And then we can study the variables that could affect the GPA. For example, age, sleeping hour, let's say, and back grade. Instead of sleeping hour in attendance. I will only take 3 variables. You can see that I didn't take any of the nominal variables here, parents, financially independent, etc., gender. I will tell you why later on, but just let us click on OK and see usually what is the output of a regression analysis, a multiple regression analysis. We have the following. Here we have the different variables that we have chosen, our dependent variable, explained variable, which is GPA, and our explanatory variables, attendance, back grade, and age. We have here a summary of the model. The R-square is around 0.22. Adjusted and taken into consideration number of variables is 19%. And we have here ANOVA. In the ANOVA, we can check the significance of the model, Fisher test. If it is less than 5%, the model is globally significant. And here we have the detail. The constant is significant. It should be holism, they should be less than 5%. The age is not significant, greater than 5%. Back grade and attendance are significant. So in this model, we can see that, for example, here we have the coefficients B, that age has a negative effect but not significant. For example, back grade is significant and it has a positive effect. Each additional grade على الباك will add 0.09 GPA level. Each additional percentage of attendance will increase your GPA by 0.01. I cannot include in my regression here, I cannot include, for example, the gender. I cannot include it. لأنه we only need string variables. There is a solution. The problem is that this variable, you can see one is female, male, etc. We have to transform it into a dummy variable, 0, 1. In order to do so, click on transform, recode into different variable. So you take gender here, you assign a new name, for example, male. And here you can change. When you click on change, we know that we are moving from gender to a new variable called male. And here you can set your new variable options, old and new values. You click on it, In old values here we have either female or male. So if the value is male, so you click here male, then the new value I want it to be 1. Okay, so I can click on add. You can see here that male now is transformed to 1, and you have to respect capital letter. We can click here, all other values must be 0. Add. So male 1, else 0, and we click on continue and OK. You can check it here at the end of this, a new variable, male, 0 for male, and here when we have 0 for female and 1 was male. So you can do it for all your other variables. Now I can include this variable, you see, and I can click on OK and see if this variable is significant. There is no significant effect of being a male with respect to females and vice versa. Okay, and then you can test and test and test until you get all your determinants. Which of these determinants are affecting the GPA? You can get your results, and you write your equation. Okay, thank you for listening, and bye bye.
Handling the missing data. Kalau ada banyak sangat missing data, buang je lah, tak ada masalah, buang je. Tapi kalau buang banyak-banyak sangat pun masalah juga, because we are running out of sample size pula nanti kan. Jadi we need to treat how to treat the missing data. First, yang paling penting yang ramai orang buat, dia ambil by average. Looking at the average of the rest, kata 100 respondent, what is the average of the 100 respondent for that particular questions? Kan katakan dia tengok biasa mean lah, mean kalau mean tu jatuh 3.02, and then the missing data you can put it as 3.02 ataupun number 3 kan. Macam itulah. Tu listwise deletion. Ni disuruh buang. Satu lagi pairwise deletion. Ni nak buang. Nak buang je lah. Okey. Tapi kalau tak buang, dia terlampau banyak hassle and headache. Tapi kalau bila buang pula, that set tak cukup sample size. So nak buat macam mana? You treat the missing data by looking at the average mean. Alright, macam tu. Replacing the missing value. Ni nampak tengok variable mean, group mean. Semua pakai mean lah. Yang satu lagi dia guna using regression to predict the missing value. This one, option number 4, is the after you have done so many of the analysis anti-regression kan, lepas tu dah tahu dia punya missing value of dia again dia akan look at the mean juga. Kalau regression pun dia tengok ke mean juga dia tengok, ataupun the value of correlation, the value of significant, dia tengok kat situ juga. Jadi tak payah nak pergi ke option number 4, pergi ke option number 2 and number 3 is more than enough kan. Sebab option number 4 ni, after you have done so many things, then you go to regression. Sebab sebelum tu you are doing descriptive dah tahu dah your average mean kan. Senang je lah. So benda ni nak lebih faham, you need to do it. Okay, once you have the data, then you will do it. When you do it, then it will provide more understanding and data transformation. Alright, okay, data transformation. The process of changing the original data to a new format, this is typically done to more easily understand the data or to achieve some other research objective. Okay, for the data transformation, it's very important for you to transform the data atau to compute the variable, because you have so many variables here. Example, you have a dimension, and then there are so many elements under that particular dimension, and then for each of the element you have 2 or 3 item questions. So you need to have only one reading for that particular dimension. Then you might need to transform, and before you transform, you might need to compute the variable, and then combine the compute variable, then you get the reading for that particular dimension. Sounds like very complicated, sounds like very tricky, but yeah, data ni dia learning by doing. You do it then you learn. Kalau cakap-cakap macam ni susah sikit lah. Alright, but it is very important for you to transform the data, because it's very big data. You might want to get into clear picture about what is all about, alright. Detecting outliers, ini pun penting. Kalau you are not treating outliers, it means that if you are not treating outliers, it would mean that your data could possibly lead to not perfect bell curve, ataupun not to have a very perfect bell shape. It means that your data could probably skewed to the left or skewed to the right, positively skewed or negatively skewed. Kalau dia mild skewness okay, tapi kalau dia major skewness, maknanya ada outliers terlampau banyak. Outliers ni dia kira macam mengganggu-gugat reading of your significance of the correlation between variables. Kan? Dia banyak mengganggu-gugat lah outliers ni. Yang ni outlier ni nak kena repair. Nak kena buang. Dia macam mana nak tahu? Sometimes there could probably ada variable yang jadi penyebab utama outliers. So you need to do some test to identify the outlier. Bila dah tahu this particular variable yang penyebab angkara, yang menyebabkan your data ni dia tidak normal, biasa dia outlier ni akan menyebabkan data ni sama ada data yang normal ataupun tidak normal. Kalau dia normal, you can conduct parametric test. Yang ni nak kena penting, nak kena tahu ni. Sebelum you conduct further test, you need to detect outliers first. Ni nombor satu kena tengok. Sebab outliers ni dia akan lead to what level of analysis, whether the analysis could be parametric test or non-parametric test. It depends on the level of your normality. Data tu normal ataupun tidak. Kalau data tu normal, dia boleh buat parametric test. Kalau data tu tidak normal, dia kena buat non-parametric test. Ada orang data tak normal, dia proceed to the parametric test. Jadi salah. Kaedah itu salah. Cara tu salah. Mana orang ni sakit lain tapi bagi prescription medicine lain. Memang hancur lah. Memang rosak. Memang tidak akan meet objective. That is why it's very important for you to identify before you conduct further test on that particular data. Test outliers first, whether your data normal ataupun tidak. Alright, dia boleh check dalam SPSS, boleh check. But this one is another part. Probably by next week, I will teach you how to detect the outliers, how to calculate it. Alright. Okay, now. Now. 4 possible reasons to identify a case as an outlier. First, mistake in data entry. Alright, number 2. Missing value code was not specified. Number 3. Outlier is not part of the population from which you intend to sample. Outlier is part of the population you wanted, but in the distribution is seen as an extreme case. In this case, you have 3 choices. Delete the extreme cases. Change the outlier score so that they are still extreme but they fit within normal distribution. 3. If the outliers seem to part of an overall non-normal distribution, then a transformation can be done. But first check for normality. Yeah, kena check normality dulu. Bila check normality, then we will know the culprit. Kita akan tahu variable apa, dan kita akan tahu section mana dan apa benda yang kita kena rectify and repair. Ini kena buat dululah. Maknanya outlier ni nak kena check dulu. Check dulu mana scan badan apa benda scan daripada atas, scan di bawah sampai sini kan, scan semua sampai habis lah, sampai your toes apa benda yang nak kena repair, problem apa, macam tu outliers. Because you need to have a very perfect analysis which will lead to very satisfying result. Kalau ada outliers ni memang masalahnya nanti the choices of data analysis tu yang salah, sama ada parametric atau non parametric. Kan contoh relationship between variable. Parametric test for normal data dia guna Pearson correlation. Tapi kalau dia tidak normal, non parametric, dia kena guna Spearman. Lain lah macam tu. Kan? Jadi tak sama. Okay, tak sama. Alright. Okay, detecting outlier with nominal data among dichotomous. Dichotomous ni maknanya dua. Dichotomous dua. Yes, no, dua. Alright, macam yes, no, dichotomous. Dia dua, dia adalah pasangan dichotomous, dia dua. Among dichotomous variables, you have a dichotomous variable with an extremely uneven split as 19-10, 90% say yes and 10% say no. This will produce an outlier. Okay. The only fix for this is to delete the variable. So like I just said before, delete. This is easily identified by species frequencies. Okay. Detecting outlier with metric interval ratio data. Whether searching for univariate or multivariate outliers, the method depends on whether the data is grouped or ungrouped. Okay, detecting outlier with metric or interval ratio data is very easy if I show you some of the steps. What are the steps? Okay, nanti kat dalam ni kita memang tak adalah. There are steps that you can conduct in order for you to detect the outlier. There are 3 or several steps for you to follow. There are 3 or 4 steps for you to follow in order for you to detect outlier metric. Detecting univariate outlier metric data. Univariate ni satu variable. Kalau 2 variable, bivariate. Kalau 3 variable, the multivariate. So one way to identify univariate outlier is to convert all of the scores for a variable to standard scores. Univariate outliers are those with very large standardized scores, Z scores greater than 3.3, and that are disconnected from the distribution. Yes, if sample small size 80 or fewer, the case is an outlier if its standard score is 2.5 or beyond. If sample size larger than 80, a case is an outlier if its standard score. Yang ni semua ada dia punya steps yang tadi that I mentioned before. Okay, we'll cover next week. Okay, yang ni dia ada steps, ada 3 to 4 steps. Alright, now statistical analysis. Okay. Okay, our research does not end with data processing. The next stage is to do statistical analysis. Dia lah kena buat statistical analysis. Kalau dia quantitative analysis, kena buat statistical analysis lah. Frequencies ke, distribution of data, standard deviation. Standard deviation very important because we need to understand the distribution of the answers between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Likert scale. We need to understand. Kalau standard deviation is very high, maknanya dia taburan jawapan sekata. Kalau standard deviation is very low, taburan tidak sekata. Mana ada questions entertained by many other people, tapi dia punya concentration of the answers only 1 point. Contoh kat 4 dengan 5, 1, 2, 3 tak ada. Jadi dia nampak macam data itu tidak sekata. Bila data itu tidak sekata, sebab tu nak kena tengok you are distributing the questionnaire to the target respondent, to the correct and accurate target respondent. Sebab tu kalau data itu dia tidak normal ataupun distribution of data is uneven, dia tidak sekata, makna kata your target respondent tu pertama is incorrect respondent, kedua respondent tu inexperienced about that particular research topic, and then didn't even have the experience about contoh macam you receive a questionnaire about slow tourism at Cameron Highland, but the person that is reading the questionnaire is somebody who haven't been to Cameron Highland, tapi dia dah macam forced choice nak jawab juga. Dan itu akan jadi salah, banyak benda yang akan salah sebab because this particular person never experience been Cameron Highland. How many of you never been to Cameron Highland? Ada juga yang belum sampai Cameron Highland, betul tak? Okay, ya, mesti ada punya, tapi nak jawab soalan tentang slow tourism Cameron Highland, nak jawab memang tak jadi, memang salah lah, because you never experience it. You have heard about it, but never step on your foot at Cameron Highland. Nak jawab juga, memang dia akan jadi macam-macam masalah, kan? Contoh soalan pergi haji, tajuk dia kepuasan jemaah haji dekat Mekah. Bagi kepada orang yang tak pernah pergi haji, mana boleh jawab, tapi orang tu nak jawab juga, nanti akan jadi masalah. Yang tu akan menyebabkan masalah outlier sebanyak. Types of analysis can be classified into 3 types. First, univariate, bivariate, multivariate. Okay, tengok. Alright, now. Okay tak? Kalau tak okay, kena bagi tahu in the comment section. Okay, now descriptive versus inferential statistic. Descriptive consists of organizing and summarizing data. Example, how many percent of the people who went to zoo, kan? Atau how many percent of this couple travel together, macam itulah. And the other inferential statistic consists of using data you have measured to form the conclusion. Inferential statistic ni mana from the statistic you make your own conclusion from the statistic. Itu nama inferential. The statistic inferential. Daripada data tu mendapatkan kesimpulan. Tu nama inferential statistic. Tabulation. Okay, frequency tabulation. A frequency table is convenient way to summarize the obtained value for variable that contains small number of different values or attributes. Cross tab nama dia. Cross tab, often abbreviated as cross tab, display the joint frequency distribution of 2 or more variables. Dia nak tengok apa dia buat. Cross tab ni nak tengok perkaitan antara variable tu je. Basic statistic measure central tendency. Yang ni semua you have learned before, kan? Median, okay, median boleh tengok lah median, kan? Boleh baca sendirilah. Okay, we look here, measures of dispersion. Ni measure of dispersion ni taburan data lah ni. Mean deviation. Ini semua you have covered. Ni standard deviation dominating role for the study of variation data, and is mostly what and is standard deviation plays a dominating role for the study of variation data and is most widely used measure of dispersion. Taburan sekata tidak, kan? Variance. Ni semualah, ini semua belajar dalam statistik ni. But for the researcher, they need to understand for all of this term, because the software SPSS just produce the result, and then you might need to interpret the result. Macam tu. Measures of shape, ni tadi dah cakap tadi. Skewness, tu mana skew. Dia skew ni melengkung, dia data ni dia dalam lengkungan, dia bentuk lengkungan perfect shape bell. Dalam skew ni dalam taburan data, dia dalam bentuk perfect shape bell. Dalam bentuk loceng. Kan loceng macam ni. Lengkungan loceng kan dia cantik, kan? Kalau skew ni dia lengkungan itu dia tidak cantik lah, dia nampak macam lonjong ke kiri, lonjong ke kanan, betul, positively skewed ataupun negatively skewed. Skewed to the left, skewed to the right. Mana kalau dia tidak simetri. Data itu tidak simetri. Kenapa? Sebab mungkin ada banyak outliers. So I hope you do have some basic understanding about the importance for you to conduct data. Okay, now class, if you do have questions, you need to drop the question in the YouTube comment. Assalamualaikum. We'll meet again next week. Assalamualaikum. Bye.